Okay, well, we might as well get started with the Bruce County Economic Development Strategy update. Kelly, I'll let you lead in.
Will we pass the resolution from closed
Oh, yes,
after?
we will.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
It's okay. Through you, Mr. Warden, the report that's before you is to give a status update on the one-year anniversary of the program. County Council passed in July of 2016 a series of steps towards economic development, and both Stelina Williams and Caravan Mile will give individual updates in relation to where we are, and my report will discuss primarily a holistic view. So with that, we'll just get right into it. Again, as you're familiar, the overall strategy, we refer to it as Find Yourself in Bruce County. We started in 2016 with a series of demographics, in particular that we have had between the two census a 3.5% increase. Our goal is to continue to see that type of growth. Our median age, we're a little bit below our comparator of Ontario. On the value of dwellings, we do well, but at this point we're a little bit below Ontario, as I like to say, given the value that they had reported. Our focus has largely been on continuing to advance education, in particular our skilled trades legacy. Moving forward, our key sectors, as was reported last year, again, 15.6% of our employment base is within the utilities, 11% is within tourism, 8.5% construction, and 7.8% agriculture. Our labor force, we're quite fortunate. We beat the average income of our average being a little over 94,000, the average of 76,000, and then on a Canadian basis between 60,000 and 79,000. Our employment factor and employment rate as a county, we are fortunate that we are effectively at a full employment, and the four-county Labor Board gave a report in the last month that has confirmed that. Moving forward, when we did the work, staff brought forward to County Council a suggested approach of a macro view, in particular focused on a three-pillared economic strategy. The three pillars being energy, agriculture, and tourism. Connected to this, you'll recall last year you approved the transition of the Business Enterprise Center, and we're quite proud of the work that the Business to Bruce group have done in the past year. It's quite remarkable. So again, the main focus of the strategy is energy, tourism, and agriculture, and moving forward in terms of what does the macro approach mean, primarily one of coordination, collaboration, and capacity building. The graphic that's before you does a really good job of documenting the vision of the strategy and your support of that strategy, being that it's a three-prong approach. The three prongs being the county, the municipal, local governments, and then, of course, the local leaders within those local governments. We've had a year of terrific success. A large part of that terrific success, boy, that's a tongue twister. That terrific success comes from the fact that all parties have remained united and have considered the best interests of the overall economic development for Bruce County, while respecting the local needs that each community had. Inevitably, when you do this type of a strategy, as our leadership, you ask us to define how are we going to measure success, and you ask us that rightly so. Our approach has basically been, we're focusing on 4 core outcomes that we wish to see movement on. The easiest one is the tax base and overall tax assessment. And not only myself, I think every member of the senior management team are eagerly awaiting to see what MPAC tells us we're going to see this year after 12 months of a lot of activity. Second to that is growth of the population base, primarily permanent growth, and communities are built on permanent residents, and the shoulder seasons are very important to and enable that to continue to occur. Third is to diversify our economy. So although we have a 3-pillared approach, within each of those 3 pillars, our goal is to expand the primary economy that supports those. And fourth, business retention and expansion. So the Business to Bruce program has again been a terrific success in its first year. And our goal is to make sure that we measure retention so that the businesses that we see created, whether it's through entrepreneurs or just a movement of an pre-existing business, we want to measure and check back in and make sure that they have sustainability and that we retain them across the county. The next slide, Donna, I'm not going to focus on. It's a bit of a repeat. The regional opportunities, we have been really, I think on behalf of both Kara and Stelina, we've had a very, very busy year in 2017, although we're in September. The work that has occurred has been quite phenomenal. We're thrilled with the relocations that we've seen occur in the first half of the year. Our next focus is to make sure that we support the partners of the individuals who are coming with those businesses. The local municipalities, ideally, we want to support economic diversity, and in order for us to do that, we need to provide support to make sure that we break down as many hurdles as we have in terms of development opportunities, to try to make it easier and to remove all potential perceived or real roadblocks to development. The statement about our skilled trades earlier, that we've identified that we are a feeder in the province of Ontario, and that it's part of our history, and that we feel that it's important that we continue to support that history and engage in growing the skilled trades. And of course, finally, the Be an Explorer, that is the fabric of Bruce County, and we want to support that to continue. So we move right into the energy sector. We're at the point now of our first year with the partnership with Bruce Power. It has been a successful partnership. We've felt that we've largely been able to advance the opportunities within all 8 municipalities, particularly with a goal to free the local communities from having encumbrances to allow them to continue to grow their internal capacity. I'm not going to steal Stelina's thunder, but we're quite thrilled with the level of growth and hope that you will be as well. The elevation of the region as a core energy cluster is evolving quite nicely. The joint partnership and the funding between Bruce County and Bruce Power has gone very, very smoothly. We're, again, quite pleased with, from a staff perspective, on the work that's been achieved. We continue to focus on relocating businesses, and we're very appreciative of the leadership that Bruce Power has taken in this regard to help to make that be a realization. So again, a quick summary of some of the firms, but Stelina will go into more detail with those. At this point, we've seen permanent relocation in the communities of Saugeen Shores, Kincardine, Erin Elderslie, and South Bruce, and we continue to focus on marketing across all 8 local municipalities. The second pillar and focus is tourism strategy. And with this, we've had a philosophy of best in class. I'm not going to pretend that it's been an easy philosophy to introduce. It's been a little bit up and down. But we overall have felt a terrific amount of support from the operators. Our goal is to make sure that we leave no one behind and no operation behind. We, as stated, we continue to have opportunities for improvement to make sure that we don't create an environment where there's a sense of exclusivity by way of the best-in-class philosophy. The one aspect that we've heard quite often from local operators is that they're dealing with what's politely referred to as web overload in terms of having to create and update information in multiple locations, working hard to make sure the information is current, accurate, and consistent. And ultimately, the vision that the staff have had is one to harness the people's dreams. And again, I'll let Kara talk through that and give you a holistic view of that. It's something that we should all be very proud of. And then ultimately to continue to leverage existing partnerships and relationships with the all municipalities. Our primary goal is, although it's quite a lofty goal, is to replicate the success that has been seen in Tobermory and North Bruce Peninsula elsewhere across the county. And then the third is the agriculture area. This is, we're working through its definition. The research will begin in 2018 to put a bit more meat on the bones. Ultimately, one of our primary goals is to continue to grow and support the entrepreneurial base, and in particular research and development as it applies to agriculture practices and systems. So if we just move right into the business to Bruce, the economic development strategy includes effectively the next generation of the Business Enterprise Center. This transition was really the brainchild of an individual named Larry Allison, the former CAO for Saugeen Shores. And I think if he were here, he would articulate that it went much smoother than either of us expected, and the growth has been quite reassuring and gratifying. In particular, the recognition from the province of Ontario in terms of the work that has been done through this transition. The program itself is designed to advance business and all economies within Bruce County for the 8 local communities. Again, the report that Kara is going to deliver goes into more detail of the successes, but it has been I would say a huge success for the county. If I could just go on to the next slide, please, Donna. Thank you. One element, and they are being handed out to you, the AMO Reducing Business Burden Projects. The staff, in particular, Melissa Legacy and Caravan Mile, have completed a business reduction program whereby all of the branches within Bruce County are starting to serve the local communities and to expand their knowledge of what the programs are within the library branches. And it was very gratifying to sit while this panel took place during AMO, and to see often with those panels the measure of success is the questions that occur after the session. And it was quite a busy day that day, and again, it was a very proud moment for Bruce County. And finally, where are we going? What's our immediate horizon for your consideration is ultimately 2018 will be a year of elections. Inevitably with elections, there's always strain in terms of existing programming, and there will be strain on the macro approach that the strategy is built upon. We continue to work with all of the local communities and strive to address any issues and concerns in a united fashion. The measurement of outcomes, hopefully the 4 that have been presented to you, you'll find are satisfactory to ensure that we as staff are providing to you an annual report on the payback for the investment that you have approved. And then finally, the continued need to advance educational opportunities across the county and to improve resources through that. With that, we can move forward, or I can answer questions before Kara and Stelina make their presentations.
Are there any questions or comments for Kelly's report? Hearing none, we will move into, do you want to, Stelina?
So as Kelly mentioned, I'm here today to provide a one-year update on the partnership between Bruce Power and Bruce County. A little over a year ago, I had stood right over there with the opportunity to meet County Council and introduce myself and my role as part of the partnership. And 1 year later, we have a lot to reflect on, a lot to celebrate and to congratulate each other on. Last year, one of the key messages that I had delivered was that working together, that we would be able to bring more business investment to the area to support Bruce Power and help secure us as an energy hub in Ontario and possibly in the world. And I thank you for the opportunity to come back today and talk more about how we have moved, I think, a little bit closer to achieving that goal or that vision, and how we've done it both collaboratively and collectively as a region. Just in terms of background, I know that that you're all very familiar with it. We did launch the initiative last September with our Economic Development Summit. And through engagement at the summit and later work with our advisory committee that we set up, we established a nuclear industry investment strategy that would guide the initiative as we moved forward, which includes a vision and goals and action items with a series of performance measures to track our outputs. And a lot of them include measures that Kelly had referenced earlier. A more detailed report on key activities to date was provided in advance in a package, but today I'm really going to focus on the supplier expansions themselves. So our first goal of expanding the regional supplier network to support Bruce Power's long-term needs, and to really talk about what we have achieved specific to that, how I engage suppliers, how we work with suppliers and the region, and what the next several months might look like in terms of moving forward. So in terms of a high level of what we've achieved to date, we've seen 7 office spaces leased, existing spaces leased by suppliers, filling a total of 20,000 square feet of existing space. And that includes RCM Technologies, Rolls-Royce, S&C Lavalin, EMC Power Canada, Black & Mack, Amick Foster Wheeler, Sargent & Lundy. We have one existing manufacturing facility that's been purchased by Kinetrix, including 9 acres of land for a new build. We also see a lot more land across all of the municipalities now being serviced, or starting to look at servicing land for potential new build opportunities. And as a result of the 8 supplier expansions, we're looking at over 120 projected jobs in the region over the next few years. Oh, sorry, and I should also mention with the suppliers that were expanded here, that these are largely your large companies with multi-year agreements in place with Bruce Power, who are also kind of world leaders in their area of expertise. And what's interesting about most of them is they are nuclear engineering companies, and really by the nature of their expansions, I'd say that we're starting to create a bit of a nuclear engineering kind of hub because of these world leaders coming to the area. In terms of supplier inquiries, I thought it would be worth talking a little bit about the process and my work with the suppliers and kind of how things unfold. Excuse me. So to date, I provided details on available office space, warehousing, manufacturing facilities, and land to 27 suppliers or 27 companies. Just under half have either secured space or in the process of securing space, or are no longer pursuing local options. And the reason why a supplier may no longer be pursuing a local option is because they weren't successful in securing a contract with Bruce Power, so there was no real business case for starting a presence here. The remaining suppliers are still very active, and some are awaiting confirmation of securing a contract with Bruce Power before they move forward with securing a building. And generally the way that the relationship begins with the suppliers is Bruce Power supply chain will refer a supplier to me prior to them bidding on a contract. So in the contract bidding process, they are asked to demonstrate that they have started to look at what their local presence might look like in the area. And so they connect with me and they tell me that they're looking for, you know, an office space, short-term lease, like where they might be interested in locating, kind of what their needs are, and then I, based on the inventory that we've pulled together from our advisory committee and from all of your communities, provide them with a list of options that we then kind of go through. Some at that point I may not hear from for a while because it's just at the initial information gathering stage, and then once they know what their presence might look like, they come back and then we move forward. So it does take a long time for a number of these suppliers now to decide what their presence will look like. In terms of demand for space and timing, as I mentioned, a lot of them right now are looking at transitional space, you know, just get here, and then once they're here and once they know what their presence might look like, that's when we'll really see, I think, more longer-term opportunities for filling manufacturing spaces, warehousing, and buying land and building. So I would say in terms of progress, I mean, we're near home, or we are home with the major suppliers, and as I mentioned, we're really just looking at right now meeting additional suppliers' needs and kind of the transitional spaces is at the forefront. And so continuing to understand and be aware of buildings and facilities that are available in your region are critical, and just keeping that list or that information updated is extremely helpful. And another thing I thought I would touch base on very briefly as well is factors motivating kind of specific location decisions and why a company might decide that they want to locate in one area over another. I'd say that in general there are a couple. There are going to be some requirements to have their employees travel on site regularly, and as a result you might be looking at within the 25-kilometer radius of site. I do find that companies that are looking for warehousing or manufacturing facilities are more interested in what's available rather than the proximity. Rather than being really close to site, it's what's available in the entire region that can be leased and kind of ready to move into. I have also been finding that some companies don't necessarily want to be next to your big brands like your S&C Lavalins and your Rolls Royces, and they're looking more at locating in potentially smaller communities and having more of an anchor presence in a community outside of the 25-kilometer radius of Bruce Power. And the other piece as well is that I find that personal connections or personal affinities to certain areas have been driving some interest as well. I'd been working with a company who grew up going to a family cottage in South Bruce Peninsula, and he has an interest in potentially looking at what the opportunities there might be. This is just an overview of the type of information that has been shared to date to give you a sense of kind of, based on the information that I've received from the communities and the information requested by suppliers, kind of what has been provided kind of from a regional perspective. And so this is based on office space, warehousing, manufacturing, and land options in certain areas. So Brockton, for example, there's been two office space options provided to 2 suppliers, 2 options for warehousing in the area provided to 9 suppliers, and 3 suppliers have received information on land. And I should say that although I've been working with, although I've been in contact with 27 suppliers, there are a number that may not necessarily come directly through me either, that they're using their own brokerage firms or that they're working with realtors in the area. So we try to capture as much as we can because it's important to be able to communicate up to Bruce Power who is looking. But this certainly may not necessarily be everything that's being shared across the board. It's really just based on information that has been requested from me, what I've provided. And this is just a bit of a snapshot of where we were September 2016 and where we are today in terms of supplier expansions into the area. And finally, looking ahead, as I mentioned, continue to work with suppliers on expansion opportunities and working closely with supply chain to identify additional suppliers. As I'd mentioned, there is an expectation from Bruce Power that should a company be successful in securing bids or have a strong relationship with Bruce Power, that they will have some sort of a local presence. Also continuing to work with communities on identifying existing buildings and land, as I'd already mentioned, and continuing to provide updates through various kind of forums to the communities and to Bruce County. And I thought I would just touch base quickly on a few of the ways that I do currently communicate to all of the municipalities and community organizations. We do have our advisory committee, which has 2 members from each municipality that meets quarterly. I also provide monthly updates to the advisory committee. We also provide detailed milestone updates, like a 6-month, 9-month, 12-month update. I've also had updates at quarterly Bruce County CAO meetings, updates to County Council, and regular working relationships with economic development officers or community development officers in the municipalities, I find is a very valuable way of ongoing communication in this initiative. And then I also am happy to present to or respond to requests from business associations. I'd presented to Ripley's Business Association, South Bruce's Business Association. I presented to Kincardin's Community Economic Development Committee, so I'm more than happy to kind of do outreach to your communities in that way as well. And so all of this is kind of, all this work we're doing now is leading up to our next summit, which will happen on November 7th. Which you will all receive a save the date for as well. And it'll be a great opportunity to really just look at all of the success that we've had to date and where to go from here.
Thank you, Stelina. Questions, comments for Stelina? Robert.
Yesterday, Selena come down and met with our South Bruce Business Association, and we had a good turnout, like from the leaders in our community that own the businesses. And I really appreciate it, and I think we accomplished quite a bit to put a lot more information before them of what is available through the county, and I really appreciate you doing that.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. I know you've been a very busy lady, so thanks for all your work.
So through you, Mr. Warden, we'll now move over to have Kara make her presentation.
Good. Yep. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Every time I get up here, I feel like it's a sense of pause, which is great because the CAO did a good job of introducing how busy 2017 has been up to this point. And I've had a great team of people that have been working with me to advance the agenda on behalf of the county to this point. We've been through a lot of transition. November 2016 was the adoption of the first Bruce County Economic Development Strategic Plan, as Kelly referenced, called Finding Yourself in Bruce County. So we are going to take a look, probably a quick look, but happy to answer more detailed questions at what the last few months have looked like on economic development. I think that concept, or that term that I have at the beginning there, moving plan to action, really summarized what I'm going to talk about today, and that's what we've been really focusing on. I always kid and say as a land use planner, I'm the one that likes plans the least because I don't want them to sit on the shelf, and we really want to look at how do we move them into action. So hopefully what you're going to see presented here is those pieces we've been moving forward. And so under bullet point 2 there, we look at measuring successes. So what I'm going to take you through is a look at the outputs, the value and benefit that we start to see taking traction in our communities, some of the success stories I'd like to share with you, and then the outcomes that the CAO spoke to as well, and what we're going to be looking at in 2018 to move forward. So as I mentioned, find yourself in Bruce County. This macro approach really has been the pillar behind what we've been doing and all the conversations we've been having locally with our municipalities, with our local leaders. It really is that concept of us all getting on the same page. And while that seems really simple and it looks like a simple diagram, it's a lot harder on the ground. And that's one of the things we've been focusing most of our energy on. And I think, you know, as we come together as a region, we're really starting to see some of that benefit pay off. So as you'll remember from the strategy, we had 2 core pillars, one around business development and the other around sector development. And that's just a little reminder of what we said that we were going to focus on in each of those key pillars. We also brought forward the concept that economic development doesn't happen overnight. I'm sure you guys love to hear that, but we did talk about this being a long-term approach that we wanted to see the county participating in. And right now, you know, coming to the end of year 1, we're looking at still being in that planning phase and how we advance that capacity building and getting us ready in economic development. So measuring success, I'm going to take you through outputs. We look at key performance indicators, values and benefits. We have an impact assessment tool we've been using, and our outcomes around those broad goals. So outputs are really related to our programs and what business we are in. So there are those activities and programs that we do that are a direct project or a work process that we advance. And so how we look at, on an annual basis, how we're moving those forward is through key performance indicators and then our action plan reporting. The key performance indicators, these are specific to the Economic Development Strategic Plan, and we have broader ones that we look at through the Planning and Development Committee or Planning and Development Department. But the key performance indicators that you have in front of you there really are looking at how are we advancing from what I used to think of as driving traffic through to engagement. And so we see some steps, and I think as we mature in our programs, Business to Bruce being the newest, but Explore the Bruce and Spruce the Bruce have been around for a number of years now. We look at moving from simply looking at how much traffic we're driving in those programs to how we're creating awareness and engagement in those programs. And so those key performance indicators that we're going to track over the coming years are really going to look at how we advance that engagement agenda. I'm not going to go through these slides, you have them all in front of you, but you will see that this is taken directly from the strategic plan that you saw in November, and it had this is what the first year was going to look at. And in Business to Bruce, you'll see most of the results down the right-hand side are completed, and if they're not completed, it's because they're an ongoing function that that group will be moving forward. On the Explore the Bruce, Spruce the Bruce, and the agricultural piece, similarly, you'll see a number of those are completed and aspects of that are also ongoing, and I will get into the 2018 and where we go from here. Some of the highlights from 2017 I think that we're really proud of and we wanted to bring forward to you today. We've tried to use the language around the Be an Explorer brand too here so you can see the focus on the numbers, but with our 8 local municipalities, we've formed the first Bruce County Economic Development Regional Working Group, and they meet quarterly, and they've started pulling together the 5-year action plan, really looking at bringing us together as Bruce County on 4 key areas around communication, improved communications, collaboration, education, and regional projects. Bruce County also invested $85,000 into 2 applications to the Rural Economic Development Fund, and they were awarded $260,000 worth by the province of Ontario for 2 projects. One is the economic impact of tourism, as Kelly already mentioned, and the other is helping with that Business to Bruce, the community enhancement project. In May, I thought I could read from here. I'm going to need my glasses checked. Sorry. Like from May, 420 community leaders, business owners, tourism operators, and stakeholders received our first Bruce County Economic Development newsletter. So this has been rebranded. We always sent out a newsletter related to Explore the Bruce, but we've now rebranded that into Economic Development, and it encompasses all 3 of the programs. We've also brought in work that Stelina has done and also from our planning division as well. Business to Bruce coaching and support, and I'll get into some of the details on that, has resulted in the creation of 8 new businesses across Bruce County and 13 jobs, so supporting that positive economy growth that we're looking forward to seeing advance. And Business to Bruce has also seen 3 new summer jobs created this summer as well, and they're probably the most fun that we have are with our summer job creation program. And lastly, 442 local entrepreneurs have participated with the county on different skills enhancement and the growth of our community networks throughout 2017 so far. So looking at value and benefits, so this is beyond just what do we do with our day-to-day work, and this is a little harder to measure. So what we instituted through that strategic plan last year was an assessment tool. What we're looking at doing is how are we growing capacity in Bruce County in order to advance that economic development agenda. And through this assessment tool, it'll allow us to sort of monitor and modify program effectiveness as we move forward. The actual tool isn't in this presentation, it is in the strat plan, but what we have is the 2016 benchmark that we will use to sort of look at how our communities, and so this is a self-assessment tool that the communities do and they submit as part of their annual reporting to us on those 4 pillars that you've heard me talk about for years around organization, business development, community development, and marketing and promotion. So each community is doing that self-assessment, and which helps us increase awareness locally of where our focus needs to be, but then also provides us with a tool to sort of look at how is that value increasing, our work increasing on the ground, and that capacity growing within our communities. Some of our success stories, so as Business to Bruce, as I mentioned, there's been 8 businesses open across the county this year. There's some of the details of the business name and their location, and then the 3 summer student programs as well, or businesses as well. So as you can see, much as Stelina and Kelly were both talking about earlier, we're seeing that advancement of the businesses throughout the entire county, which I think is really exciting, especially from bringing on, as we said, the Enterprise Center, our partnership with the province of Ontario. Really, we're starting to see those new business startups happening across the county. This is one of our Starter Company Plus program grant recipients, Sarah Coates. So she's opened a paddleboard business in Kincardine, Ontario, just to put a bit of a face to a name. And then Alana Miles is one of our Summer Company Program grant recipients as well. And this is a picture of her selling her bands at the farmers market. I think this was just from last week in Katy, is that right? Yeah. So success stories on Spruce the Bruce. We featured Saugeen Shores. It was hard to choose which community to look at this year to focus on in an annual report. We'll be bringing back more details for committee on the Spruce the Bruce program and more details on that. But Saugeen Shores this year had 12 big projects that they moved forward and saw $35,000 invested from Spruce the Bruce this year. In there you'll see the names of the programs that, or the projects that were advanced. Why the focus on Saugeen Shores, I think, and perhaps Mayor Smith might get a bit of a kick out of this, but when we look back to the start of the Bruce program, Saugeen Shores really struggled to leverage the program, and I think they've made great strides in the past few years at advancing that organizational pillar and getting all of their groups locally on board to advance these projects. So it's a big success story for Saugeen Shores that way. Here's some other examples from the Spruce the Bruce program. So this is Cindy Lou's Variety Store in Lions Head, and just to give you a sense of some of the leverages that we see. So on this one, we would have put in $3,000 from Spruce the Bruce, and the business owner there put in $9,218. So we're seeing those leverages this year from Spruce the Bruce higher than they've ever been. So for every dollar the county's put in, we're seeing $5 invested from our business community or from our local community. Here's another example from Lucknow. So the streetscape banners and Christmas lights, the project was valued locally, or that leverage locally was $3,969. Very specific numbers. On Explore the Bruce, again, this is one of the places where it's hard to track the tangible program pieces around our outputs, but what we're starting to see, I think, which is really exciting in Bruce County, is that there were 5 new experience-based tourism businesses that were opened in the county this year. They weren't directly related to our Starter Company program. A couple were, but not all. But I think it's a testament to how Bruce County is growing as a destination that we're starting to see these experience-based businesses relocating or opening here in Bruce County. If anyone wants to try it, this is the aerial park in Sabo Beach. I went and had a look at it securely from the ground. I did not harness up and give it a go, but it looks like it's a lot of fun. Use a lot of upper arm strength. And as the CAO mentioned and handed out the report from the AMO, we were pretty proud this year to partner with our library partners. This is a picture of the staging that's gone on in, this is the Walkerton Library, to focus or bring attention to the Business to Bruce program and also outreach to our entrepreneurs in our communities. So we had 9 seminars so far this year. There is a great session going to happen this fall as well, and those 9 seminars that we did in the spring engaged 137 entrepreneurs across Bruce County. So outcomes, lastly, as we mentioned, outcomes are strategic in nature. They're influenced by a number of economic forces, but we will use 2016, as the CAO highlighted, as our benchmark to measure that key data, so that infographic with some of the population numbers around our tax base and our economic base, and how our business retention expansion is happening. So 2016 will be our benchmark year. What we'll look at doing is, as these strategies move forward, we'll be bringing those numbers back to you, most likely on around a 4 to 5 year basis, but as we get the data and it updates, we'll be bringing updates forward to you. But those are our long-term goals and the data that we see advance over time. So what to look forward to in 2018? So that plan, that strategic plan did include a 5-year action plan. As I said, we had 2017 highlighted here. 2018, I'll just give you some of the highlights from that. On the business development piece, we're going to continue to support entrepreneurs and business startups. So we'll continue to see those great stories of those successes around business startups. We're going to continue to work with the Business to Bruce program and develop that capacity locally, and through that RED program, we'll be able to advance that further. We're going to develop a mentorship network that's going to support those local entrepreneurs, and this is one piece that we're really excited to see advance, so that when we bring our business owners through training and development, they are also partnered with a mentor in the field that can help them advance that business idea on the ground. And then we'll continue to build those education and training opportunities related to business development. Related to sector development, we are in partnership with North Bruce Peninsula to help them with a destination management plan that will advance in 2018. We are looking again through that RED program at doing the assessment of the economic impact of tourism, so that'll be an exciting project to move forward. We're looking at developing an in-market activities guide to promote that movement through Bruce County. So again, you've seen that shift over the last few years with our marketing efforts to have people shift away from a sole destination choice for why they arrive in Bruce County to potentially looking at itinerary planning and moving around the county. So again, with the broad objective of getting them to stay here longer and spending more dollars in our economy. We're investing a couple of new programs, the Renew program, which is a program out of New Tecumseh, and then the Pitch It to Win It program, which here on Kinloss is advancing this fall. We're looking at supporting them and how we move that forward. And then the last thing on that list, but potentially one of the more important ones, is looking at developing an energy sector cluster development action plan, which right now is a really great title, but hasn't gone a lot forward than that right now. So you'll see that coming forward as we move into 2018 as well. So in conclusion, the purpose of this annual report is to give you a sense of how we've been doing on our programs, the impact that they've been having, or the value we see them having in our communities. And as we get started, it may feel a little thin right now, but as you see that advance over time, we'll be able to show you a bit of how that's moving forward related to that benchmark year of 2016. And just, again, that concept of the macro approach, none of this is standalone. All of them are part of that comprehensive program. And we look forward to continuing to work with all of our partners in our communities in order to advance that capacity building that I think is so important to us being successful as the place, Bruce County, not just the organization, Bruce County. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kara. Comments or questions to Kara? Just more of a comment. There is a lot going on in Bruce County, to say the least. So all good. I think we really have a really great opportunity to strike while the iron's hot, per se. And we are a destination for baby boomers and people moving businesses and the likes, because I hear it over and over again as people want out of the city. This is a destination point. So I think we really have to be open for our visitors, and not just visitors, but future residents. So thank you for all the hard work. Kelly.
Through Mr. Warden, I don't know if you want to entertain the resolution from close before we move on and
Sure.
Okay.
Do we have that? Okay, so this is from Rising and reporting from the enclosed session that the Human Resource Committee reviewed the salary recommendation provided and recommends a 2% non-union salary grid increase effective January 1st, 2018 for the cost of $346,150. Do I have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Mike, seconded by Robert. Are there any further discussions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to item B, the Integrity Commissioner update.
I just wanted to provide a brief update to my report. The RFP closed on September the 5th. We received 7 submissions. The submissions are currently being reviewed by myself, the clerk Donna McDougall from Kincardine, and the clerk Linda White from Saugeen Shores, and we will conduct interviews following the review process if required.
So you don't need a recommendation? at this point for information, as is the complaint policy. Or sorry, action items. No further to add. See, there is a recommendation there. Do I have a mover and seconder? Mike, seconded by Janice. Any further discussions on the recommendation before you on the complaint policy? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that is carried. Thank you. Records retention. Nothing further. Mover and seconder. Paul, Janice. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor, opposed if any, that's carried. Thank you. That is it. Next meeting, October the 5th. Motion to adjourn. Paul, Robert, all those in favor, opposed if any, that's carried. Thank you.